So in the practice today until the Dhamma talk this afternoon, we'll be continuing with the same person, or at least the same category. So the same category, if you feel that the practice is quite settled and you're able to radiate mudita for this person, you can choose a second easy person. But please, again, make certain that this is actually an easy person. So this person has some good fortune in their life. They're a person you are very happy to be around. They bring joy to the mind naturally anyway. And please, what I mean when I say make sure they are easy, whatever good fortune they have should be something that you're not longing for.
Una cosa
And that's actually a difficult person. So traditionally, it's another person, one single other person. However, but please feel free to radiate mudita for non-human beings if that is easier for you. A single non-human being in this case. So I already saw Ekaterina kind of going, oh, good. And one kind of being who is very easy to feel mudita for actually are dogs, because they're generally happy beings. I once had a border collie who was a real mudita engine. I'd put her in the car and we'd go off to Bunny Beach, which was her favorite place. And she would be beside herself with joy. And it was very easy to feel happy for that. So if you happen to have a dog in your life and you put the dog in the car and they're going back and forth in the back seat, squealing with happiness, that you can radiate mudita for a being like that. For some people, this is much easier than radiating mudita for other people. You can also radiate mudita for children for the same reason, because kids are very transparent about when they're really happy about something. So your own children may be a little challenging, but maybe a child you know who's really happy about something that's going to happen to them in the next couple of days or week, you know, that's a good person to use. And staying with this being, this person or non-human being, through at least one sitting before you move on. And it's even better to stay with them for a much longer period of time. So just like with the metta practice, staying with them for the whole rest of the day actually is a very good thing. And at this point in the retreat, it's natural for us to be adjusting our phrase and maybe the phrase we use, or to be uncertain about, is this the right phrase? Or, you know, these questions can arise. Perfection is impossible. It doesn't exist. So don't worry, just relax into samsara, basically. So even if it's not perfect, it's good enough. And as Ekaterina said, there are so many ways you can express this cultivation of joy for another's joy. I specifically and on purpose was very vague about the phrase yesterday, because I didn't want to plant my own phrases in your mind. And anyway, I don't know Italian or Russian or Czech or Dutch or Hindi or Swiss German, or you need to find or German, you need to find a phrase in your own language. I know a little French, but I'm just, it wouldn't be as good as whatever phrase you were to come up with. So the key to this is, please make it in your own language and make it short. And it carries the meaning of, well, it carries that connection with their happiness, as well as feeling happy on account of that. And because it is the form of metta, loving kindness, which is well-wishing. It is a specific phrase of well-wishing in the face of that joy. Any phrase you use, it's best if there is all of that in it. The connection with their joy
Quindi la
and the
connessione.
well-wishing specifically. So this is why the phrase I used yesterday was it's the one I always use, or a variation of the one I always use. May your happiness, or may your good fortune, continue and increase. But you'll find your own way in this. And if you've been using one phrase and another that very powerfully drops into the mind and heart, and you can really connect with it, leave that until the next sitting, and then try switching the next time you sit and see how it feels. See if it feels different. And the last thing to specifically say about the practice is don't worry what you experience. Or don't worry about what you experience, sorry. As with Metta Bhavana, when we cultivate Mudita, there is a whole range of experience we can connect with. It can be, as Alessandra said, really almost transforming the body. We can really connect with that joy in our own body physically. Or as Sophia said, noticing how that actually can be and can become very, very quiet. There's a whole range of experience of what can happen when we actually connect with this joy in our own experience. And please do not be concerned if the opposite of mudita arises, or a reaction to the practice itself. I was sharing this practice with some people in Belgium and Holland in the autumn. And one person said on the very first day of sharing, you know, I want to be really honest. This practice really annoys me. I don't trust happy people. I don't trust cheerful people, and I don't trust that in myself. I thought it was a really beautiful, very honest sharing. Because let's face it, a lot of our culture is cynical. And some of us on top of that have a very strong tendency for annoyance and ill will. And so if this is you, please don't worry. Just keep going. Because actually it does purify itself. I'll speak a little bit about that in the Dhamma talk this afternoon, but just to let you know, this may happen and it's okay. The practice is to simply keep doing the practice, even if this sort of thing is arising. Yeah, don't worry, it's okay. So again, choosing an easy being, and we'll practice in silence.
Can I just interfere, Sister Viragnani?
Si.
You remember what Marcella asked about having a difficult
Oh, right, thank you.
And how to deal with it instead of switching to metta? Right,
thank you. I spaced it on that question, Marcella. Yes, this can happen. Difficult states will arise. This is normal. And as all of you who've done a lot of metta practice know, when we cultivate a habit, it becomes something the mind naturally goes to, whether it be a habit of vipassana or a habit of metta. And now we are cultivating a habit of mudita. Hold it in the same way as you hold vipassana when you're doing the metta practice. So for example, if somebody is very, very habituated to cultivating vipassana and they begin to cultivate metta, the mind will naturally go to vipassana if difficulties arise. And if somebody then cultivates quite a lot of metta, then the metta also becomes a deeply ingrained habit. so that when difficulty arises, the mind naturally goes there. Think of it as you're learning a third language. So the mind will go to the other two, one of the other two that you are more familiar with. And that's fine, actually. There's nothing wrong with that, because either vipassana or metta are both wholesome. So this is not so much a problem as we sometimes make of it. If you're experiencing quite a lot of difficulty and you find the metta allows you to stabilize the heart and mind, that's fine. Wait with the metta until the mind is stable and then go back to the mudita. So that's one situation where you can go to metta. So with extreme difficulty, that's perfectly okay. Where I would advise caution is if the mind habitually just slides into metta for no particular reason. And as soon as you notice that that is happening, very gently pause and begin again with the mudita. And returning to the mudita with good humor, actually, because metta, as I said, is wholesome. There's nothing wrong with it. So you can just kind of go, oops, I was doing metta. Okay, pause. I'm happy for your happiness, or whatever phrase you use. So making sure you are not yanking your mind back as you would, with a dog you're angry at. Don't jerk on the leash. Yeah, gently, gently, gently. So please find that comfortable posture. When you're ready, closing your eyes. And I invite you to begin, if you like, with a couple of minutes of simple presence, really landing in this mind, body, and heart. And then in your own time, picking up the cultivation of mudita for this easy person. Really moment to moment to moment, just as we do in the metta practice, inclining the heart to joy. And I'll conclude this sitting at the end with a little bit of chanting to bring you out of the practice. I do not have a bell, so I'll chant a little at the end. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Donatella. Avarogo vinasatu. Mate bhavatwantarayo sukhi digayu kobawa. Abhivadanasili sani chambuna pachayino Tattaro Dhamma Vadanti Ayuvano Sukham Bhalam. I'm not the only one chanting. There's somebody in a tree next to my window doing the same thing. So I apologize for the short sitting. As the retreat goes on and we have fewer questions and more simple sharings, that first part will get a bit shorter. So at this point in the retreat, it's natural that questions will arise. And it's important that we answer those questions, that we have answers so that we can practice without wondering, am I doing it right? Or is this something I should or shouldn't be doing? So are there any lingering questions that anybody has? Does anybody have a question that's been sitting in the back of or the front of your mind as you've been sitting? Was that a question, Iris, or are you just adjusting something?
I have a question, more general. The factor joy in the mind, the cetasika joy, can be wholesome and unwholesome.
See.
And I don't know how to distinct this.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's a really good question.
Was
the basic, the basic litmus test is if it's wholesome and joyful, there's no suffering. If it's unwholesome and joyful, suffering follows. Or is there already? But of course, it's not easy in the moment to distinguish. This is where investigation comes in the practice. When you experience joy in the practice, and then you find yourself suffering on account of it. So with regard to beings, and actually with regard to experience of the practice, we can experience joy in either their presence or in a particular practice experience. And that's neither wholesome nor unwholesome. And if we cling to that joy, if we want that person to stick around the way they are, if we want that experience to stay the way it is, that joy then becomes unwholesome. It's no longer pure joy, it's clinging. This is what makes it tricky, because it's the same object, but the way we relate to it is moving, is changing. So as you know, in the Abhidhamma, it speaks about associated mind states. So this is where watching the mind is really important, because there can be simple joy in the practice, and then what can arise in the background unnoticed is liking, clinging, craving. And please don't drive yourself crazy with this. So just notice what is arising in terms of how you relate to your experience, and let that noticing do the work. Just acknowledge it is enough. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So if there are no further questions, I would like to just briefly give the instructions for the rest of the day until the Dhamma talk. So la pratica formale, sitting and walking. Stay with this easy person. In daily life, la vita quotidiana, please, as you did before, feel free to practice the cultivation of mudita in a very fluid, open way. And this is a place where we both integrate the formal practice and we get creative about finding ways to practice all the time. So please allow yourself to be creative with this. It's totally good. So what I'd like to do now is spend our remaining 10 minutes together with some metta chanting. But not just metta, but also the other 3 Brahma Viharas, including mudita. Remembering that metta is the basic underlying heart state that includes mudita. So I want to begin with the first page of the chanting. It says metta chant there. And we chant this one time through completely, and then a second time, the first and second verses. Okay. Sabe satta, sabe panna, sabe bhuta, sabe pukala, sabe attabhava pariyapana, saba itiyo, sabe purisa, sabe ariha, sabe anariya, sabe deva, sabe manusa, sabe vinnipatika, averahontu, abhyapajahontu, anigahontu, Sukhyatanam pariharantu, dukkha muchantu, yatta lada sampatito, mavikachantu, kamasaka, purati maya disaya, hachi maya disaya, Uttaraya disaya, Dakshinaya disaya, Purati maya anudisaya, Hachi maya anudisaya, Uttaraya anudisaya, Dakshinaya anudisaya, Eti maya disaya, Upari maya disaya, sabe satta, sabe pana, sabe bhuta, sabe pukala, sabe attabhava pariyapana, saba itiyo, sabe purisa, sabe ariha, sabe anariha, sabe deva, sabe manusa, sabe vinnipatika, averahontu, abhyapajahontu, anikahontu, Sukhyatanam pariharantu, dukkha muchantu, yatta lada sampatito, mavikachantu, kamasaka. Now to close, turning to the next page, the Burmese. So this beautiful chant is actually the Burmese version of the middle part of the last chant we did, where it talks about Awera hontu, Abhyagpaja hontu, Anika hontu, Suki ata nam, Pariha hontu. So this is an expression of these four boundless states in Burmese, very simply. So I'll chant the top part once, and then the bottom part of the page is the sharing of merits. And gathering together all the goodness you've cultivated this morning, today, this week, this month, this year, and really joyfully sharing that with all beings in all realms and in all directions. Yeah. Sharing, 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 may all beings partake of this merit. Alun tatuadwe, chanma jabaze, chanda jabaze, gosi ekin jabaze, se si ekin jabaze, athasa ayaya, asempye jabaze. Amya, 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 yudo mucha bakulo, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Amya, 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 yudo mucha bakulo, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Amya, 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 yudo muchaba kunlo, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, some of you, a few of you, I will see in 5 minutes. The rest of you,